So Nick Fuentes and SNEAKO have a conversation. I never thought that I never thought I'd see the day. It's funny because after my last SNEAKO video, I was like, yeah, I think I'm good covering SNEAKO. There's nothing really like super new when he talks about anything, which is like typical for everybody. That's not like an insult. Everybody's has like a particular pattern, right? I've heard the same arguments before. It's a lot of times he has conversations or discussions with somebody, and he will typically talk over them, and he will. I'm gonna pause these for now. Thank you, so I love you too.
Just resubscribed for 3 months.
Thanks for the sub, brother.
Love you, Papa.
I love you too. But then he just kind of like, if somebody brings him like a particular thing up to him, like a statistic, if he doesn't agree with the statistic, he'll say, no, statistics are all like a conspiracy. And if he does agree with them, he'll be like, see, I told you. Pretty normal stuff. But this is with Nick Fuentes, and somebody sent me a clip, and I can't play the clip only because it has DMCA music. But bro, it's crazy. He's saying, like, I just want you guys to understand something. Nick Fuentes is like an actual like white supremacist, white nationalist. Like, he thinks it's very based for people to not have rights. Okay, this is coming from Nick Fuentes. Okay, I've talked about him a little bit before. Like, he thinks and that's his whole ideology is founded on, like, I think it's very based for this thing to happen. Like, he thinks it's very funny. So yeah, that's it. And the clip that I saw from SNEAKO was like, yeah, people basically along the lines of like, people mislabel you. It's like just to try to like deplatform you. It's like nobody's mislabel. Some people on the left definitely do that. They'll call everybody like a Nazi. But Nick Fuentes is like the perfect example of who you shouldn't be. So it's gonna be interesting, and we'll see how this whole thing goes. So let's go.
That's smart because they're pretty.
Let's turn it up. Don't worry.
Community guidelines.
Yeah.
Well,
so, can you tell me about Cozy TV? Actually, it's funny. I met somebody today, and they were telling me about Cozy TV specifically, saying that I should get on this platform. It's funny that this ended up happening today.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty wild. Well, Cozy TV, so if you don't know me, I'm a...
Yeah, so I think SNEAKO might have just gotten something pulled down for COVID misinformation. And I understand that that's restrictive of freedom of speech and whatnot, but like he keeps going around just denying factual evidence. I don't know the specifics though, but I could see why they probably would censor that.
Political activist. I'm a pretty controversial guy. And I got banned on YouTube years ago. I got banned on Twitch years ago. I was on D Live. I don't know if you remember that, but that was PewDiePie's. He joined on that platform a couple of years ago. I streamed on there. Yeah, it's a small platform, and I was on there for a long time. I got banned from there. I was banned from everywhere, so I came up with my own platform. And a lot of the alternative tech sucks. Like, it doesn't work, or it looks bad, or it's like it's free speech branded or something like that. I just wanted to make something that looked good user experience, and it just let people say whatever they want. It's not a specifically political platform. Destiny has a channel on here. If you know, some of the other left-wing streamers like Jackson Hinkle has a channel on here. And I have a lot of...
Does Destiny use the channel? Because I feel like he doesn't use the channel on there. But I do know that he has one, I believe.
Kinds of people on here. So it's free to use. It's free to watch. We have donation options coming.
Wait, did Nick Fuentes create this? Is that what he's saying? Interesting.
With cryptocurrency, and we have user account signups with Telegram, so it's completely unbannable, and that's the gist of it.
Hop me up. I want to get on.
Let's do it. Yeah. I think you're in touch on Instagram with one of my interns. His name is Arizona Action. He could send you all the details, and we could get you set up as soon as possible.
Arizona Action.
But why did you get banned on YouTube? What did you do?
Well, I got banned for hate speech. I don't know what I said. I mean, I don't want to repeat anything that'll get you banned right now, but, they ban everything. It's like you can't...
Oh, listen, okay? I don't know exactly what Nick Fuentes said, but this guy is, legitimately, he's very bigoted, right? If Steven Crowder is able to be on YouTube, I understand that he gets banned every so often, but if Steven Crowder is on YouTube, then Nick Fuentes must have done something beyond a Steven Crowder thing. You know what I'm saying? So it was probably pretty bad. Okay?
Say 9/11 was fake on YouTube. You can't say any conspiracy
theories. That happened to me on stream. I said 11/9 might have been fraudulent, and they terminated my stream live.
Yeah, I know.
What? Okay. Well, why would you say that? Okay, let's just.
Oh, and it never used to be that bad, but it started to get bad in like 20.
I feel like it was way more than just suggesting that there was a conspiracy. But okay.
2019, and I do a political show, so I have to talk about stuff like that, COVID, elections, all that. Like you can't talk about anything.
Election fraud. There's always going to be small instances of like election fraud, but nothing big enough in any capacity to actually shape the election. Okay, let's just be absolutely honest here.
Anything anymore? It's editorial, so that's why I got banned in 2020 from YouTube.
Okay.
I don't understand how that doesn't wake people up. The fact that like misinformation can like can they decide what information is good and bad? Why?
I mean, like, yeah, it can be a very slippery slope. But the reality is that, like, right now, what we're considering misinformation is actively thinking everything is a conspiracy that you don't want to believe, despite objective metrics saying it exists. Hey, guys, COVID is real, and it's not good. And we're getting better at managing it, but the vaccine is good. And even the vaccine now that was created for, like, the original strain of COVID, it's not as effective on this current strain of COVID, but it can still reduce the symptoms that you get, right? It's a pretty logical take. I think people should be able to go back to work, but they should be careful. You know, I think optional masks, but I carry on hand sanitizer everywhere I go. But you're just like, no, these things don't exist. You got the jab. You're just a bot. This and that. It's like, Jesus Christ, bro. Oh my God. I didn't even think everybody should have had to get the COVID vaccine. I only got it because my wife had to get it for work, and we got it together. We're like, let's just get it together. You know, I didn't want to. I would have been fine wearing a mask everywhere and staying safe, but that's what they said. If you want to work at this job, then you have to get it. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it with my wife. You know what I mean? I'm not happy about it, but like, it is what it is. Like, that's a lot of part of growing up is doing things you don't want to do, and I'm fine. So who cares?
Do we let these corporations decide what hate speech is?
I know, and that's what I tell people, because it's like,
I know we should be able to shout the N-word. Like, what do you mean, bro? Come on. What do you want to say that you feel is going to be labeled as hate speech?
I'm right wing. I have a lot of controversial opinions, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody benefits from having companies and billionaires decide like what's true and what isn't true, because that's what it is. They've appointed themselves like, well, we say what's fake and we say what's real, and they get it wrong all the time. Like almost everything they say is wrong. Well,
like, I would like some specifics, because it can be a dangerous thing to obviously to let like fucking rich people run the world, of course. But then like when they're talking about instances of COVID, it's not like rich people making these claims. It's fucking scientists. It's data driven. Rich people didn't want to shut down the economy. Do you think that it's not in their best interest to shut down the economy and get everybody to not work? So your claim is like, it doesn't really make sense.
But they're going to ban people for misinformation all the time. It's just a thinly veiled excuse for them to control all the information in the world. That's literally what it is.
So I take it that you didn't get jabbed, obviously.
No, yeah, hell no, I didn't get jabbed. Did you?
Well, well, no.
Whoa, SNEAKO, you got the jab? What happened, bro? I thought you were based. What happened? I bet you got the jab.
I'm not sure. I don't want to get in trouble for misinformation again, but
okay.
I think you can take a guess.
Yeah. Well,
what do you mean? You could just say yes or no. What do you mean? Wait, why would you get in trouble for misinformation? For that? I don't understand. Why would you get in trouble for misinformation for saying I didn't take the jab? This is one of those things where we get into like the territory of like a victim complex, where you feel like anything that you say, even if it's not controversial, will be controversial just because you're like so biased at a certain point. You could just say like, no, I didn't, or yes, I did. But it sounds like he wanted to go into a whole rant about how it's fake and blah, 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 blah. And that's probably the area where he feels like he'll be restricted. But did he actually take it? It sounds like he might have actually took it.
But Destiny's on here. Destiny's on Cozy TV. Like we just had a debate, and finally I won. He won the first round, but that guy really trusts the government.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, me and Destiny, he's obviously very liberal, and I'm like, dude, you can be liberal or something, but he believes everything the government says. I was telling him about all this corruption. I was telling him, like, good example of this is Nikki Haley. She was Trump's ambassador to the UN. She leaves the White House, and then she gets put on the board of Boeing, which Boeing is one of the biggest companies that sells planes and missiles to the military.
Yeah, this is actually like a really big issue, is that, bro, it's the fucking craziest thing, and this is one of the things that I guess gives validity to like some of these conspiracy theories, because there is corruption in the government. If you work for the government, and you like quit a job in some capacity, lobbyist groups will snack you up. They'll bite you up so that because you now know the infrastructure and you know how to like bypass it. You know how to bypass it, you know the game better, and they'll hire you at like a massive rate. So it is really messed up that like you can become a politician and then carry that over into being a lobbyist for the thing that you used to fight against. It's absolutely like true. It doesn't mean the entire government is always corrupt. Like when it comes to trusting some things, if you could look at the empirical data, you'd be like, yeah, I believe that. But there absolutely are problems with the government.
And she gets this giant salary, and it's like it's so obvious that's just plain corruption. And
For
he's
sure,
like,
I agree.
oh, well, maybe they hired her because she knows a lot about airplanes. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, so he will just believe everything that the media says and the government says.
Blindly.
Yeah.
But you have a better career like that. And it should be obvious enough the fact that if you don't trust the government, then you have to go make your own platform and you get banned. And the people who echo the liberal agenda stay and make all the money possible.
Yeah, and that's what sucks so much is years ago, the internet was like the Wild West, and you could say anything, and people like Alex Jones would blow up all the time. And now they just pick who gets to blow up. And if you don't agree with their politics about Trump or BLM or vaccines or even things that aren't even that political, then you're just done. No money, no career, no advertisers, and
that's not really true though. It has more to do with the way that you talk about. Again, yeah, just advertisers. Absolutely, I don't get advertisers either. Because I talk about I'm a progressive, and the stuff I talk about is still very controversial. There's a way to talk about like VPN networks support Ben Shapiro and stuff. Like it's not like what you're saying doesn't really exist. You can be conservative and get like VPN plugs or conservative plugs, gold plugs. I forgot what the guy's name, but there's a guy who gets like a lot of those. So some kind of, it's not social justice warrior, but he's like a conservative content creator. I've seen some of his stuff, and he gets like, you know, gold buying plugs. Yeah, I mean, it's just not really exactly true. It's more about the way in which you express yourself. You can have a controversial opinion without intentionally being as controversial as possible, and you'll still be fine. It's just that like Nick likes to be super based.
Yeah, so I think it's not even political. It's just like, are you with like the globalists? Are you with Slavery Incorporated? Or are you like a real human being? I'm a real human being. I say what I want. I don't give a shit about advertisers. I don't have advertisers. I make money with donations. That's the real fight.
That is very freeing.
Yeah, me too. What do you think is actually going on? So I've been talking a lot about the spiritual warfare, and I'm trying to wake people up to how they're trying to feminize men and masculinize women, and it's an intentional.
Whoa, well listen, Nick Fuentes likes femboys. Be warned.
Thing from the top. That's why everybody has their gender pronouns. They're making up new genders every single day. They're trying to weaken us, and they're trying to make being a man and being funny and just not giving a fuck. They're trying to make that toxic and problematic. You probably heard all the same words, incel. They just label you with all this bullshit. And I've been talking a lot about my stream how I have privilege not being a white man, because you're here with the suit on and you look like a politician with your headset and the headphones, and you get censored. Like they get to label you alt-right and a Trump supporter way.
Well, he is alt-right. Like, I don't, like, just so you know, he's very alt-right. He is Nick Fuentes.
Easier than me. Like, I'm here, like, you know, getting sturdy on stream. I'm mixed as fuck. So I'm kind of privileged in a sense where it's harder to silence me. They can't call me a racist, all right? It's actually a privilege. And it sucks to see, like, guys like Alex Jones, or, like, I was reacting to this other guy.
Alex Jones, isn't that the guy? He's right now in a lawsuit for, like, because the victims' families of Sandy Hook were getting harassed and sent death threats, and because he said it was a conspiracy for like 10 years. That's the person that we're choosing to defend. Like, what's happening here?
Just all these right-wing people, just immediately you get to silence and shut them up and just call them racist.
Yeah.
Well, Nick Fuentes is a racist. Like, this isn't me just saying that he's a racist because he's a conservative. Okay, he is like he thinks that America should be like all white. Like, I don't know, like, what are you talking about? You're actually like, if you were talking about somebody else that's conservative, I'd be like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but you're talking about Nick Fuentes, bro. You're talking about Nick Fuentes. He's all of these things. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's true. Like, you know, me and my friend used to talk about stop speeding. He would go on the stream, or Aiden Ross for that matter. They get to go on stream and they get to say, Aiden Ross would bring on all these rappers and they would say the most quote unquote homophobic things and get away with it because they're black. And if I had said those things, they banned me for being a homophobe, you know, racist, right winger or whatever. Yeah, so there's obviously double standards. And the thing is, you're totally right about the spiritual battle.
He might be a little bit right with some of that. Like it's in the rap community, there does seem to be like a little bit of like regressive ideologies in some capacity. Like that's where I notice a lot of like kind of homophobic rhetoric. I don't know if it's black people, but I constantly see people call like I Show Speed and Aiden Ross like Gaiden Ross. They're gay. They're gonna like they're repeating what SNEAKO is saying, that there's some kind of conspiracy to feminize men, even though that doesn't exist. Like people are just more accepting now. Like all this like in homophobic rhetoric, and it does seem to be more acceptable in some communities. I mean, I wouldn't go as far to be like white people are the victims of anything, but like I think it comes down to like we police white people probably more than other groups of people, obviously based on like historical oppression and whatnot. And then unfortunately we don't police other groups of people all the time in ways that we probably should. Like there's issues in every community that can be a little different depending. So he's not necessarily wrong about that.
Well, it's good versus evil. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And it's a big thing about they're trying to steal the souls of people with pornography, with gambling. Look at Twitch. Like, like I'm on Cozy, and our platform on Cozy, it's people.
Listen, I don't know too much about gambling because I don't really gamble because I'm not a degenerate with a problem. And if you are, then, you know, that's your tough luck. I'm just fucking with you. But they're not necessarily wrong about the porn thing. Like, it's not, I don't think there's a conspiracy attached to it. But, bro, like, that's where we're learning our sexual health education from. And it's really not a very good thing. Like, it's not a positive thing for us to be learning it from that. And because then young kids are attaching onto that. They're thinking that that's the standard of how you should engage with, you know, people. Like usually, like men, that's the way that they feel like they should treat women, which is not a good thing. And then women are like, oh, I guess I have to take, like, because it's more aggressive. That's what it teaches you. And then on top of that, like back in the day, things were like a little different. Like if you found your dad's like nudie magazine, it was like whatever, right? It was kind of like a whatever thing. It wasn't that big of a deal. Because you'd look at some boobs, but now it's like you go on the internet and you Google boobs, and what happens? Now all of a sudden you're looking at girls pissing on each other. Like there's an actual fucking like pipeline that's desensitizing people. So they're not necessarily wrong about some of the stuff that they're talking about.
People praying the rosary, it's gaming, it's political stuff. People don't give a shit. You go on Twitch and it's softcore porn and gambling. And this is just like stealing the virility and the souls of young people, getting them addicted to these like slot machine, online gambling sites, getting them addicted to OnlyFans, getting them addicted to hot tub, jacuzzi streams, shit like that. It's so evil.
I can't even disagree with him. He's not necessarily wrong. He's really not. Like I mean, like I don't agree with everything with Nick, but like these are the things where like these are the areas where even though he's insane, there are still points that like he says that like yeah, he's not wrong about it. And unfortunately, like progressives won't call out some of this stuff. And like it's like, oh, we have to be sex positive. Like, yeah, I think that we should be sex positive too. I understand sex work exists and that like some women need to do it, for the most part, it's women, because there's like a lack of opportunity in different areas, and women can face like some issues of finding a job in a different way than men can, right? But then it's like they will champion it, but it shouldn't really be championed. It's not good for the mental health of the person creating the content, and it's not really good for people consuming it. I think people should be able to consume it. I'm on the hub every so often, if you know what I'm saying. But it's a fair point.
And
I just did an e-date with one of the hot tub streamers, and I made it pretty far. I made it to the semifinals, but guess who she picked at the end? She picked the guy who bought her hot tub water. Obviously, you see the move. She did that so that she like every guy in the chat's like, maybe I have a chance if I'm fat as fuck. Maybe.
Well, maybe she just thought you were also. Well, maybe that's quite possible. It could have been a business line. Or maybe also it's because you're very sexist and think women are less than men. You think that they're not people. You've effectively said that to me in a live conversation. So maybe maybe you should just respect women.
Maybe she'll hug me one day. And it's just sad because they really promote that, and guys have a false idea about how women act. And I've been reacting to a lot of this channel.
Yes, that's true. You believe that too. You have this idea how women act. It's false. You have like an idea like how some women act, and you think they're all women.
You should check out It's Complicated channel on YouTube if you haven't seen it, because it just breaks down how delusional all these American women are.
What is he talking about?
All these American women worship celebrities. They worship Cardi B, Kim Kardashian, Meg Thee Stallion, and they're trained to turn into thoughts who don't have any unique personality. They don't think they have to improve. They think they're perfect. And people call me a misogynist because I bring it up, but I'm really trying to talk about the brainwashing. All these women.
But people would just say that you're the reverse. Like you're gravitating towards like Andrew Tate, or the idea that like all women are just like this. I mean, you're just generalizing and saying all women are thoughts. There's definitely like an acceptability like of thought culture, I guess you would say, for sure. But that doesn't mean that all women are like that. I don't associate myself with women like that because I don't think that they're productive. I don't think that men are like that are productive either. I don't think that men that like are constantly like fucking the same people that are like, oh my god, Nicki Minaj, I'm gonna shake my ass. The same people who think that like fucking like songs about fucking like bitches and hoes and all this other shit. Like, yeah, I think it's all like garbage. I mean, the songs are good. Let's be honest here. But generally speaking, it's just like there are some like I just wouldn't advocate for some shit. I don't know what to tell you.
Women worship celebrities and they don't really realize why. They're on Instagram and TikTok all day and it's fucking up their heads and they make no sense, and it's an intentional thing that they're doing to make men weaker. Because if women make no sense, then who are we going to have kids with? Who are we going to be in relationships with? Most of the guys who end up fighting and killing each other, it's over a girl.
Yeah, you're right. They're messing with both the men.
What? Most of the guys fighting and killing each other is over a girl. I don't know what we're talking about, to be honest with you. Now we're just kind of getting it a little out there. But okay.
And the women, and the men follow the women.
But isn't that like based fighting other men for a woman? Isn't that how it's always been historically? You're supposed to be the dominant male, right? Isn't that a good thing by your ideology?
So women, you know, they're the ones that get to select for who's going to reproduce and who gets the sex. And you're right, the women are getting totally gassed up. And by the way, all the women are fat now. Like all the women are.
But hasn't it always been like that? Where like women have always had sexual selection because men want to be having sex, but then men get relationship selection because women want to be in relationships, right? Like it's interesting that we call out the double standard where it's like, oh, women have, you know, they're the ones that get to choose who we have sex with. Yeah, but like we get to choose who we're in a relationship with. Like if a woman will sleep with you, she will date you. Frankly, I mean that's my experience at least. Any woman that'll sleep with me will date me, and they want to date me. Like that's usually how it goes. Women tend to be a little more emotional, so when they'll give up sex, it's because they want to be with that person. And then I get the choice of whether I actually want to stay with that person. So like, yeah, there's double standards, but they go back and forth. There's different types of selection, you know, back and forth. So
and they're all rude, and they're all like they swear, and they're just very aggressive.
They think being toxic is fun. They think their personality trait is just being a bitch.
Yeah, they're all watching Euphoria, and they all want to be like a fucking girl boss or whatever. And newsflash, no guy wants to date a fucking girl boss, okay?
I don't know. I think that I mean, I don't know what a girl boss is to you. I mean, like an annoying girl that thinks that they're the shit. Like, yeah, I wouldn't want to date them either. But like a strong woman, there's nothing wrong with that. Like a woman who knows like what their shit and they know what they're worth. I think that's hot. I don't see why that's like a big issue. There's a difference between like an annoying, entitled person, a girl in this instance, who thinks that they're all that, even though they've earned nothing. There are men just like that. Those are very boring, useless people. But when somebody knows their worth, I think that that's very sexy. Yeah, I watched Euphoria. I think it's pretty good.
No guy
cares about how much money a girl makes. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, we're the ones that are supposed to make the money. So that's why I like Andrew Tate. I just put out a big thing on Telegram about Andrew Tate, and like, anytime you get a guy like that who's going to say what's true about women, they always blow up. Anytime somebody's out there who's charismatic and for whatever reason doesn't get censored and says the truth about men and women, they blow up. And that's because...
Well, it's not really the truth about it. It's just, I think a lot of young people, especially young men, think it's very funny to be sexist. I mean, I used to think it was funny to be sexist. I was there. So you're like, oh man, this guy hates women. Like, there are some things that Andrew Tate talks about that are probably worth listening to for everybody, especially when it comes to building confidence and stuff. But nobody knows about it because nobody gravitates to him for that, because they gravitate to him because they think he's funny for hating women and thinking that women are less than. So he's not really saying the truth. He's just saying sexist shit that's dated, shit that people have been saying for like hundreds of years and is changing. And people are like, yes, based. Yes.
Because people are so starved.
It's ridiculous.
All we get is the censored. Exactly. People want the truth, but they just get the controlled feminist nonsense.
Okay.
And they censor everything else.
Real recognize it's real, and that there's a takeover happening. And one thing I recommend you do is start telling your chats to start clipping your stuff and spamming it on TikTok. That's how I blew up a lot.
It's probably not going to work for Nick Fuentes because like he's not going to be super TikTok palatable. But yeah, that's the Tate argument. It's like, hey, spam clips, everybody do clips for me. It's not a bad idea. It's a viral campaign, I guess. So, but
just getting clips. I'm on everybody's TikTok For You page, and my face is everywhere. And I support Tate too. Tristan Tate just hit me up.
It's interesting that SNEAKO's talking about how he's constantly being censored, but he's still all over TikTok. It's TikTok is the most censor heavy platform, and he's all over it. So it kind of shows you that like he's not as censored as he wants you to pretend that he is. In general, you can still be a controversial person, and you could still be on social media. He's all over TikTok, which means that like his content for the most part is palatable and it's advertiser friendly, except when he gets into the area of conspiracy theories and COVID denial.
A couple days ago, real recognizes real. So people like this, we need to start linking up with each other. And like, I'm glad that you have this platform like here, because when they inevitably ban me, I'm going to start streaming on this platform. Chat, you got to go over to Cozy TV when I do get banned. But it's going to become stronger than the censorship. And there's really a movement happening, because it's like the amount of men who are getting weaker and weaker. It's sad. Like, these guys are addicted to OnlyFans. These guys are addicted to prawn. And we still push this idea that feminism, like that women are oppressed, and they're not at all in the West. When they talk about the wage gap, they talk about catcalling, and that's it. But
okay, so this idea, I don't like this. Like, really, it's a really exaggerated idea where like, because like magically women can't be women are still somehow not oppressed. Like, there is still oppression, right? Like, and there's still issues with men too, right? That's the thing. But women, there's still levels of oppression. Like, women still have to deal with the fact that like they can't. We know women can't walk the streets at night, right? Because they're afraid of getting raped. Like, it's there's still oppression in different capacities. It's not as bad in America at all as it is in like a lot of other countries. But what I find interesting is like, women aren't even oppressed anymore. Women aren't even oppressed anymore in America. Blah, blah, blah. And then he's talking about how he desperately wants to leave America to go to these other countries where women are oppressed still. Like, that kind of screams a bit of a red flag there, doesn't it? Like, what you're constantly going on about how women aren't oppressed anymore in America and how you hate American women, but then you want to go to a country where women are oppressed, and like you're kind of telling us that you're a little bit of a walking red flag there. No, based on that logic, I got to get out of America. The women are better in other countries. They're better. You mean the women that like you are self-admittedly are oppressed? Yeah. Well, why do you think that is? Maybe because you want to, whether it's an active thought or not, want to be part of oppressing them? Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's fucking crazy. I don't think he thinks of it this way, but it is the truth. It's suspicious when you think about it.
the homicide rate is completely all towards like men are deleting themselves at an I think 9 out of 10 times compared to women.
No, that's not even close to it. You're just making up statistics, so we're gonna look it up. It's not 9 out of 10. It is disproportionate in men's favor. I mean, we got to look at globally. It's different. Let's see. I mean, you're just like saying weird lies. Let's see. Globally, death by suicide occurs about 1.8 times more among males than females. Okay, so about 1.8 times more, right? So that's like 180% more. It's that is like what's it like? Probably like 4. What would you say? 3 out of 5? Is that like 60% ish? Right? Maybe that's about it. Something like that. Maybe 75. Maybe 75%. It's not quite 10. That's he's saying it's like 10 times greater. But anyway, in America is the statistic I want to see. Males die from suicide 3 to 5 times more than other females. So it seems to be, is that similar in the United States? It's a little higher in the United States, actually. That's interesting. Yeah, but it's not 10 times more, which is what he's suggesting. For sure. And that comes down to because there tends to be more societal pressure like placed on men to succeed than women. It's just kind of the reality.
We go to jail.
Yeah, more women attempt and more men are successful. Well, that really just like at the end of the day, that's just because men are just more successful at everything, right? So like women can't even take the L's in death, you know? That's the reality there, okay?
More, we die sooner. We don't have any rights when it comes to marriage. We lose.
Well, you still do. But when it comes to dying sooner, part of it has to do with statistically, men are more likely to not go to the doctor, and women are more like that's actually part of it. People just trying to tough it out. So that's like an aspect of that as well.
Lose all our money. Like we have to work harder and harder. It's becoming harder.
Well, that's the thing is, if you're married to a woman who makes all the money, then you can get more. You can get alimony from a woman. Like, it's just that since these relationships tend to be more male dominated, men tend to get, like, I guess you'd say, the shit out of the stick after being married. But if you're married for 20 years and you have a relationship contract where one person works and the other person stays home and takes care of the kids, of course, the person who gave up their entire life for 20 years should get something. You know, and the same thing if it was a woman working and a man staying home. I mean, like, it's just that doesn't that usually isn't the standard quo. What is that? Is that what you say? Standard quo? Status quo. Got it.
To become a man, and when you try to, they immediately try to cancel you. How many times have they tried to cancel you on Twitter? Every single day they make up false allegations and everything. And I predicted this coming. So I
predicted this coming. Well, no, you didn't. There are some people who make false allegations, though. In general, yeah, for sure, it's a problem. But I would say that most allegations are true. It's just that one of those things where it's like you see the false ones and then they really resonate with you.
Career on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for so many years. I've always thought about everything like being clipped up. I've always known that they were going to try to emasculate me, to belittle me, to cancel me for something. But they ain't got shit. They ain't got shit on me.
Yeah, you're right. It is real, recognized real, and it's us against the world. And now that's the important thing, because they thrive on lies. Their entire
It's interesting, this demasculinization argument, because I made a joke about how maybe women don't respond positively to SNEAKO because, like, he doesn't treat them with respect. Maybe he's not a high value male, and he got really upset. He's like, "You're demasculating me," even though he was constantly referencing that I have like fucking Funko Pops in the background. So it's interesting when, like, somebody makes a comment about SNEAKO, he gets very offended very quickly. But then, like, he tries to emasculate other people. And I think that fundamentally, at least as a man, if you're that concerned with other men, what other men think about you and your masculinity, I mean, that in and of itself is emasculating. Why do you care about what some other man thinks about you and your masculinity? Like, who cares?
Entire empire is built on lies. They lie to the people. They lie about real people. They lie about real human beings. And you're right, there is a movement of people coming together and saying, we know what's up, we know what's good for us, we know that porn is bad, we know that we need to work out, we know that we need God, we know that we need these things. And people are beginning to shut out the mainstream media. People are getting really skeptical of the powers that be. So I agree, yeah, the time is now to link up, support the stuff that we know is good for our souls, good for our bodies, and reject the cancel culture bullshit. And you're right, they canceled you. They canceled me. You know, people try to cancel me all the time. They make up things about me, take the shit that I say out of context, gets me in trouble in court, gets me in trouble with the law sometimes.
To go to court?
Yeah, I can't really talk about it, but I'm in this civil thing right now. And let's just say I say a lot of controversial stuff on my show because I'm a guy. And you know, when you're with the bros, you just say whatever, and you say controversial stuff, and you say stuff that, you know, might come across as insensitive, but sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's true, and that's what you're going for. And they use everything against me to just make me look bad and you know, damage my life. But people need to start to rise up, because soon nobody's going to have the right to say anything. If you don't stand up for the people that say the things that they're going to cancel for now, in the future, nobody's going to have a right to say anything at all. We're all just going to, you know, be robots controlled by advertisers and Twitter.
I mean, I think that just comes down to, like, the slippery slope argument. It's possible, but I think that, you know, it's one of those things where, like, you're going to fight where you feel like it's actually, like, a productive fight, right? Like, I'm not going to fight for people to be able to scream the fucking N-word at people, obviously, because I think that's stupid. But, like, yeah, when it gets too far, of course I'm going to advocate in this particular direction.
And YouTube and the ADL. So yeah, the time is now to start rising up.
You really think? I agree. I do think it's good versus evil. I just came back from Puerto Rico. I linked up with all these, like, crypto millionaires who made it out of the matrix, and they pretty much just validated everything I believed about what's going on.
Wow, it's a good thing that's what we call an echo chamber. A bunch of rich kids that don't really have any real sense of the world. Like, those are definitely the people that you should be listening to, SNEAKO. The conspiracy theorists where, like, they've never actually had to live as people. Yeah, those are the people I'd listen to too. I personally just like to listen to people who only agree with what I have to say, because then I don't have to intellectually engage with anything that disagrees with me.
I tell my chat all the time that the elites are all, like, touching kids on an island. They do satanic rituals. Like, it was exposed with Epstein, and I don't know why more people didn't wake up to that. Like, the monkey shit that's going on, we're gonna have another.
So, like, people know that rich people are bad. This isn't a unique perspective. Well, not all rich people are bad, but, like, the people that control us are not good. They're bad. right? Everybody believes that. Every single political ideology, everybody believes that. Everybody's talking about that in their own way. But then you go on to talk about how the monkeypox is like a fucking conspiracy theory. This is where you get in trouble. You'll take something that's real, that everybody's already talking about, a non-unique perspective, and you'll say like, this is real, and people are like, wow, you're right. And like, yeah, no shit, we've been talking about this for like fucking 50 years. And then you'll go like, but to top it off, monkeypox is not real. It's like, okay, now you just lost yourself there. Now you just look ridiculous. So you'll sandwich a conspiracy in between like a very obvious truth, and then you pretend that you're fucking woke. It's ridiculous.
Another lockdown. They're going to try to quarantine us again. They're going to keep us all inside. They're going to tell us to stay 6 feet away, cover your face.
I doubt that it's going to get that intense with the monkeypox, but I mean, I guess it's possible. I don't see what the government benefited from by having us all stay inside and ruining the economy. I don't really see how rich people benefit from destroying the economy and like making it like nobody. You can't be like, rich people run the world and they're evil and they're creating these viruses that make it so that they make less money. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me too. Like okay.
Jab up. And it's stupid. They're taking away just the basic things that humans need to be human. You have to. It's really just good versus evil. And a lot of people call me a crazy conspiracy theorist.
You are.
But it's right in front of your face. How did Epstein not wake people up? How did COVID? How did that not wake more people up? It really confuses me.
Well, see, that's when it's like, well, why didn't Epstein wake people? Like, yeah, good point. Like, people don't seem to care too much about Epstein. And then you're like, well, what about COVID? It's like, stop. Why are you corralling COVID and fucking Epstein into the same thing? It doesn't make sense. You can't do that. That's why that's where you lose people, because you're putting COVID and Epstein into the same category. It's bizarre.
Well, they turned it into a joke. They turned it into a punchline where they're like, Epstein didn't kill himself. And it's like, he didn't kill himself. He was murdered. And he was murdered by the people that were compromised by the fact that he had them on a plane raping kids so that he could control them. And if you look into the situation, it gets even darker. His girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, her father was a Mossad agent. That's Israeli intelligence. And so, you know, if you really start to peel back the layers there was a lot of messed up stuff. He had people from...
Are you making this... Is this going to go anti-Semitic somehow? What
finance,
the fuck?
British royal family, members of the government, people, Hollywood celebrities, and he had them all compromised because he had pictures and videos of them doing very illegal, messed up things. And we have a government that's basically run on blackmail. Nobody looked into that because it turned into some Reddit slogan where they said, oh, Epstein didn't kill himself. He did it. He was killed. And, you know, so that they just glossed right over that. And that's what they do with all these things. And that's why they target Alex Jones. Just got blasted in this court hearing the other day, this defamation case. They're trying to indict Trump. They're targeting...
Bro, Alex Jones, how are you... Alex Jones, for years, said that Sandy Hook was a conspiracy theory that caused a bunch of people... the parents of victims to be harassed relentlessly. How are you gonna defend? Like it's like you make a decent point and then you go on an insane unhinged rant. What do you talk about, Alex Jones? Oh my god, he deserves what he's getting in court. He deserves it.
Starting with lawfare and censorship, everybody that tells the truth, because the truth is getting out there. The internet is creating like an Arab Spring in America. There's a consciousness rising and a reawakening that's happening, and they're doing everything they can to stop it, but they can't. The technology's too hot. So, I mean, that's why.
It's interesting that SNEAKO has better conversations, more civil conversations with literal white nationalists than he does with everybody else. Isn't that really interesting? He's more respectful to white nationalists. It's fucking weird, bro.
What do you think about the Jews?
I think it's totally legit. I mean, I've gotten canceled for saying this, but...
Well, I don't know what you mean by totally legit. Like, I've been getting deeper into the conspiracy things, and people have been coming up to me about that, and, like, it is true. Please be careful, like, about the wording used like that. I don't want them to come on my ass. But I obviously... Pause. I didn't mean to say that. I don't want them to try to cancel me. But they control all the money in the world. Are they behind the scenes on most of these issues?
Well, you know, I'm a guy that I talk about that a lot on my show, and that's a big part of why I've been, like, canceled. And here's the thing. You know, you got to be careful about it, because you could definitely go too far and say some things that aren't true. Jews are very organized. That's what you have to understand on some level, is that you have things like...
Bro. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? What's happening right now? SNEAKO is getting into his anti-Semitism arc, where Jews control the fucking world. Bro, this is insane. Like, how this has to be proof enough for people to go like, okay, SNEAKO is taking this way too far at this point. He's going way too far with this shit, right? Like, we understand that. I mean, this is fucking insane, bro. What the hell is happening? What is happening right now? This is nuts. Like, like Jews control the world? I think that stereotype comes from, like, historically, it was considered like a bad thing to be like a banker or control of money, and I guess Jewish people did it because they like needed a job, and so it became like a stereotype against Jewish people. But dude, what is happening right now? What's going on here? SNEAKO is in his like anti-Semitism arc. This is fucking nuts. Somebody needs to. This is crazy. He's going too far unhinged.
The Republican Jewish Congress. You have the World Jewish Congress. You've got Jewish federations all across the country. They're very organized politically. They're organized on college campuses where they have their own Jewish campus life. They're organized in Republican and Democrat Party. They're organized for all kinds of things. And they use these organizations. And the thing is, Jews earn a lot of money. They're very educated. They use their connectedness to each other and their organizations to exert influence. And so, you know, they're not the only ones that influence society. There's lots of institutions and groups that influence society, but they're one of them. And so you look at the Biden administration, and his cabinet is full of Jewish people. You look at big tech and legacy media, and the people that run them, it's full of Jewish people. Hollywood, full of Jewish people. And you can't
control the media, they control the money. Yeah. But in GTA, Jews control the media and the money. And
Jesus Christ.
Villagers, they're the villagers in Minecraft.
Oh. What did you say? What did you mean about
casual anti-Semitism? Very based, guys. Woo!
Haitian IQ.
Oh, well, you know, then you got average IQ. That's another one of these so-called red pills, is that, you know, different groups have different IQs. So on average, Chinese people have the highest IQ. Okay. White people have a high IQ. Hispanics, blacks have.
You're saying Haitians have the lowest, like Hispanics and blacks have the lowest IQs?
Yeah, blacks are the lowest on average, and Hispanics.
Wow.
On average. That's true, though.
Wow. I mean, if you have, send me a study about that.
Wait, bro, what the fuck? Dude, this is it. Like, okay, so first of all, like, yeah, different groups of people have different IQs, mostly due to, like, systemic aspects, right? Like, even in the entire world, there are issues with, like, colonialism and whatnot, right? We understand that. But, dude, what I find fucking insane about this more than anything else is this idea that if you give SNEAKO a statistic about COVID, that, like, actual, like, people, like, actual scientists, like, a massive group of 100 scientists get together and go, like, yeah, this is a thing. He'll say, your statistic is a lie because the government is controlling us. But when he asks about what it comes to black people having a low IQ, he takes his word for it and goes, can you just send me an internet study of that? Bro, come on. This is insane. What are we talking about? This is like, dude, this is really bad for SNEAKO.
Send me a study about that. I want to see that.
I will. And here's the thing. I'm Mexican, okay? So I'm not saying that as like some nut job. I mean, I have a Mexican last name. And I'm also partially black. And all it is to say is that
3%?
No, I'm 25% Mexican. Yeah, I'm like 3% black. but I say that to help, you know, that's help prevent me from being canceled. It doesn't really work. But, you know, it's not to say that I think, you know, Hispanics and blacks are dumb, but just in terms of averages, their IQs are distributed a different way. And that's why Africa is so poor. That's why Europe is so wealthy.
I don't know if that's why. I mean, usually European countries will steal resources from, like, African countries, but okay. Just casually not countering him on this. I'm getting my ass like shit pushed right now. We're just kind of going with that, huh? Okay.
Right. You think it's a racial thing, or like it's an inherent thing with your race, or is it just based on the circumstances?
It's genetic. It's almost entirely genetic.
That is like objectively false, right? Like we know there's like studies that are done where there's like really no difference in the IQ of like black and white people when they're raised in similar conditions. Like we know that this is like objectively untrue. and we're just kind of saying a thing. We're just saying that it is like this is fucking nuts, dude. This is actually insane.
Is what the research says, because they do twin studies.
That's not.
They do
it's not what the research says at all.
Minnesota, there's a very famous.
Am I supposed to die in this game?
They took a black child and he was adopted by a white couple, and a white child adopted by a black couple, and they did the study with all these twins. And it turned out, or the adopted kids, and it turned out that the IQs didn't really change much being in a so-called white environment or black environment.
That's just not going to be true whatsoever. What was the environment that they existed in? Like, what does that mean? Like, in the black and white, were they the same? Like, when you say they didn't change too much, what is he referring to? What is he referring to? I'm probably going to lose this fucking game.
Where they took up, it's genetic. It's almost entirely genetic, is what the research says, because they do twin studies. They do twin studies in Minnesota. There's a very famous one where they took a black child and he was adopted by a white couple, and a white child adopted by a black couple, and they did the study with all these twins. And it turned out, or the adopted kids, and it turned out that the IQs
I'd love to see what he's referencing here. I would love to see it, because if there was no difference in IQ, I'm going to guarantee you that it's because because the IQs were like the same because they grew up in like a very similar like socioeconomic like, area. So I feel like this is wild, dude. SNEAKO's letting this guy get away with being fucking like legitimately racist right now, and he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, what? SNEAKO's on his actual like fucking racism mark here.
Really change much being in a so-called white environment or black environment, and it's an unfortunate fact. I think it's tragic in a way, but.
Okay.
Why do you think that is? That's the first time I've ever heard that. Like, in my inherent reaction is to get mad at you and call you racist, but I've never heard this, so I want to hear what you have to say.
Maybe it's because he's racist.
I think it's about evolution. There's a lot of theories that say, like, well, white people had to develop a certain kind of mindset because they had winter. In Europe, they had tough winters, and so they had to save things for the winter and kind of like, they had to store meat and store food because in the winter they couldn't hunt and they couldn't harvest. Whereas in Africa, this is just one theory. In Africa, they had summer all year long. They're in the equator, so they didn't have to save for the winter. And that's something that leads to a different kind of cognitive development. All this is to say is that the races have differences. Like, black people aren't just a different color. They're different. And white people aren't just a different color; they're different. It's not to say people are better or worse, but just that they have.
Well, you literally do think that white people are better. Like you want black people to like not be in America. Like you're a race realist. Like this is what the fuck? What the fuck is happening right now, dude? What is happening right now? This is insane. This is actually insane right here. Holy fuck!
Different attributes.
So, do you think maybe the IQ test is wasn't the IQ test made by white people? Is that a fair way to judge intelligence? Or is it, maybe there's... Black people are overall happier.
I don't know if that's true. Maybe. I don't think that is... Black people are overall happier. What is happening? What are we doing in this conversation? Maybe they are? Maybe they have. I feel like this is probably not true because they don't have this access to resource. Okay. I don't know. Okay.
I don't know if they're happier, but the thing is about the intelligence tests, they are designed in ways that are culturally neutral. So they'll put together an IQ test where it's just there's no language, it's just symbols, and they find that it's pretty consistent. And here's the thing:
what
you look at development in the world, and it tracks. Like. Asia is an extremely developed civilization. Europe is a very developed civilization. Sub-Saharan Africa... Is developed
better? Because at the same time, you're saying the Chinese are the smartest, but they're also the biggest bots. Like, if you look at them, they all, like, do exactly the same thing. They're all bots for their government. Is that really smarter?
Yeah, that's the thing. We have to... we talk about IQ. It's not necessarily creativity. It's not necessarily inspiration. And the Chinese have a very collectivist culture. And if you look at China, they have a very insular society. They are a very collectivist and insular society. The Europeans, on the other hand, were exploring and sending ships around and inventing things. And the Chinese never sent explorers anywhere because they said we have everything we need at home. So that's when I say, it's not to say people are better or worse, but they're just different. Asian civilization and Asian people are different from Europeans and European civilization. Now, the problem is when you try and say that, oh, well, we're all the same. We're not all the same. In a sense, we're the true proponents of diversity, because I want the Africans to be the Africans and the Europeans to be the Europeans, and there's beautiful culture everywhere, and everyone has a right to exercise and express their identity. The problem is when people say, oh, we have no identity, let's just import everybody and let's turn into a big country with no religion and no race, and it's like the John Lennon Imagine song. That's a nightmare.
Okay.
Crazy. Yeah, I want to see that IQ thing before I get angry or like.
Well, you know, I got at least SNEAKO is pushing back, but holy fuck, was this rough. It's just so interesting though, because like the way that he interacts with Nick Fuentes being actively and intentionally racist his response is to be like very considerate. He's like, yeah, you know, I really want to see the data on that before you start saying this stuff. But then when somebody else gives you data, you're like, no, that data's fake because it doesn't believe what I believe. It's just interesting that SNEAKO is more willing to be more charitable to an actual white supremacist than he is to anybody else. That's the thing that's fucking is nuts to me. That's the shit that's fucking crazy to me.
That my inherent reaction is to get angry at that, but I've never heard someone say that, so I want to read it.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of literature on it. I could send that to you.
Okay.
People. And you know, JonTron supports this. Okay, JonTron's a big fan of this idea.
Yes, he's talking about the Great Replacement theory. By the way, that's what JonTron supports here, guys. The idea of like that white people are being displaced from America. This is I hope that this is a wake up call for SNEAKO
and some others. But yeah, I could send that to you. I have a lot of info on that.
JonTron, that's the YouTube. What was I about to say? Damn, can't believe that.
Yeah, so
your chat's a little crazy right now.
Yeah.
Do you think you have a mostly white audience? I mean, probably.
Yeah, probably mostly, but you'd be surprised. I mean, there's actually some people accuse me of having a non-white audience. Like in our circles, there are people that are like,
oh yeah, people in his own. So he's like, do you have a white audience? Yeah, like 95, like 99%. But I have like one or two, people of color, and so the really racist people in my community, they're like, "Wow, what the fuck do you have all these people of color in here for? We don't really like that." That's who he's gonna say. Some people claim that we have this. Like, dude, come on with this fucking transparent bullshit. This is fucking nuts.
Actually hate people, and they're like, "Oh, Nick's audience is all, because I do actually have a lot of black people that go to my conferences, a lot of Hispanics that go to my conferences, because I love all people. I love black people. Okay, I love Hispanics.
Very based, am I right, guys?
And I have a lot of black and Hispanic and Asian viewers. But yeah, it's probably mostly white. That's because the country's mostly white.
What do you think?
Right, so like the country is 60% white. So if you had like logically, if you had more than like 60% of those people were white, then you have like a disproportionately white audience, right? So when he says majority, like, yeah, the majority is white. That's true. But like, what is how is that actually like represent or display itself? Honestly, it's like, yeah, 60% of my audience is white, or it's like 99% of my audience is white. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, bro. I mean, not that it necessarily matters. Well, it does kind of matter, but I'm just saying with this whole weird way that we're fucking having conversation about this shit's so fucking bizarre.
Is the truth about Trump? Do you think Trump is a controlled opposition, or is he actually awake?
I think he's awake. I think he has. I think that he is somebody who's been kind of domesticated by DC, because he had very good instincts historically. Then he goes to DC and he changes, and he gets.
What's interesting is that he used to believe that like abortion should be legal. So yeah, he does have like I guess he did have some decent instincts before going into politics, because then he completely went to like the fucking conservative side.
It's changed because that city is evil, and he gets surrounded by evil people like Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner's evil. Jared Kushner's Jewish, and his building is...
Jared Kushner's evil. He's Jewish, by the way. Wow, why is that relevant, I wonder? Why there couldn't be some kind of a rhetorical connection there for your ideology at all, right?
Is at 666 Fifth Avenue. That's literally his address. 666 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York.
Do you think that somebody who was like evil would like play on like a stereotype like that? Like, I'm evil. Let me go live at 666 New York. Like, wouldn't that be the worst way to identify yourself, bro? I mean, holy fuck.
And so you get guys like Jared Kushner and all these other bad influences around him, and they wore him down, and they fundamentally changed him. And so I still think he's independent. I still think he's a brilliant guy, but he's just not the same as he was in 16. That's my feelings on him.
What do you think about him? I voted for Trump in 2016. I didn't tell anybody about that for the longest time because I was afraid of getting canceled. But I didn't vote in 2020. But yeah, I was in a really liberal area, and I thought Trump was funny. And I do miss him. He's way funnier than Biden. But
I can see why people voted for Trump in 2016. I think people like to pretend that the biggest reason people voted for Trump in 2016 was because they were racist. But the reality is that Trump was the only one talking about a solution to bring jobs back to people, even if it might not have been the best solution, giving massive cuts to rich people. Probably not the biggest, best solution, and tax cuts to the rich, and companies. Probably not the best, but, you had Hillary talk about, it's like, oh, coal jobs are just gone. How do you think people are going to vote? They're desperate. They want an answer, even if it's not ideal. Were there people who probably voted for Trump because they're racist? Probably. But most people, I think, were just, desperate for something new. They're tired of our government establishment, 100%. They're tired of being lied to and whatnot, and they thought that Trump would be, different. I don't know that he was that different, but, that's really why people voted for him. I think it's a very easy out to just be like, well, he's racist, but it's like, well, I think a lot of people are tired of the political system that we're in general. I don't think a single person could look me in the eye and go, I wanted to vote for Joe Biden. Like, who actually wanted Joe Biden to be president? I'm not saying that he's not preferable to Trump. I'm saying who was like, guys, I cannot wait to go and vote for Biden. It's like, why would you say that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody was saying that. Nobody felt that way, right? It's like the fucking the lesser of two evils. So, what the fuck?
Overall, I've seen pictures with him at Epstein, and he seems like he was buddy with a lot of these people, and apparently he was on the island too.
I've heard that he was on the plane, but never on the island.
Oh, well, that makes
What's
it better.
the difference?
Good question. Good question.
People say that he was friends with Epstein because Epstein was friends with everybody, but that he wasn't compromised by Epstein.
Oh yeah, it's so convenient that after going on to a tangent about how Epstein is terrible, and that I don't disagree with you. That's somehow Trump is free from that attachment because you say so.
And I don't know. I tend to agree with that. The reason why I believe that is this:
because I want to.
They have attacked Trump so much. They clearly don't want him in power. If Trump was controlled, they would maybe allow him to be in power more than he is. They banned him on Twitter. They banned him from the banks. They're trying to run other candidates against him in the next primary.
The banks? What?
So they're really fighting tooth and nail to kill this guy, basically. And I think if they weren't trying to do that, they'd probably be nicer to him. So,
do you think voting is a scam or not? Because if voting is a scam, then how did Trump get elected?
I think that there's always cheating in the vote. And I think that they really stepped it up. Because here's the thing. I think that they count the votes, but what happened after... and I don't want to get your YouTube channel banned, but I'll just say this. In 2020... In Grand Theft Auto, yeah. In 2020, in Grand Theft Auto...
Careful. Just try to use keywords and shit like that.
Yeah, because nobody can know what you're talking about at this point.
Okay. Well, the problem is, how can I say it? I'll just say that they kind of changed how they do things in Grand Theft Auto in 2020.
No, they didn't.
Put in place a software update, and it kind of changed how the packets were being sent to you.
What do you talk about software update? The biggest reason why we don't do any technology when it comes to elections and we still do paper voting is because it's much more difficult to cheat the system in any capacity. You're making things up. You can't justify Trump winning in 2016. If you think that voting is rigged, then Trump wouldn't have won 2016, right? But he did, okay? And then, yeah, we did more access to mail-in voting in 2020, but that's because of COVID, right? And then more people were able to vote. Especially since they did it it wasn't just mail-in voting. It's also you got to vote the whole week. Usually you only get a day. People actually had an opportunity to vote. What a crazy thing. And they're like, I don't really want this guy in office. I don't understand. It's a conspiracy when it works against you, but when it works for you, this is just the way that shit is. It's fucking nuts to me, bro. The cope is incredible. It's just an incredible fucking cope, bro. It's nuts.
Online users and it was subject to glitches and corrupted files, and that was the problem.
Well, we don't really use technology to vote because it can get compromised, Nick. So what you're saying is just dumb and fucking untrue. Good job, bro.
GTA is a corrupted game.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone donated $5 and asked me to ask you about the Destiny versus JonTron debate.
Yeah, I think JonTron won. JonTron won, and Destiny got BTFO'd.
JonTron, the entire Destiny JonTron debate was JonTron saying that we should be a white country, and Destiny going I don't think we should be a white country. If you think that he won, it's because you think that it should be a white country, and we should have already established that you think that America should be a fucking white country. So I don't see how he won at all. Yeah, okay.
Because JonTron is totally red pilled and based, and
wow, incredible stuff. That's great.
you know,
Is he banned on YouTube? I remember watching him back in the day. I haven't heard about him in a while. He's on Cozy now?
No, he's not on Cozy. I think he's still on YouTube.
He doesn't really make content, I don't think, anymore. He's after his like embarrassing defeat. He's also rich, so he doesn't really have to make content anymore.
But he's red pilled. Why haven't I heard about him, his red pill stuff?
Because he's dumb.
I don't know. It's
That's
kind
why.
of like it's a popular thing in our circles. Like we joke around a lot about that because he did a debate about like race and crime. I talked about the connection between crime and race as opposed to IQ and race.
Okay, yeah, and again, there's a lot of systemic circumstances there. So, okay.
So he's and PewDiePie's a little bit based too, I think.
Would you consider yourself a white supremacist?
Yes.
No, not at all.
Yeah, he all right, so ask him if he thinks that white, just literally unironically ask Nick Fuentes if he thinks that black people should be in America. Ask him that question. And he's going to give you this this nice guy thing like, well, I think, I personally think that, you know, I have no problem with black people, but I think that black people should go back to their country and we should just keep black people with black people and white people with white people and Asian people. That's what he's going to tell you. That's the shit that he's going to tell you. Fucking ask him. You got to ask him these questions. So you got to wake up. You're in the Matrix right now, okay? This is the Matrix. Talking to Nick Fuentes is part of the Matrix. You're not. You're blue pilled. You think you're red pilled, but you're fucking blue pilled, bro. That's the thing. You're a bot. You're giving into your emotions. Okay. That's what women do, bro. You're supposed to be a man. You're doing what women do. All right. You got to stop it. All right.
I'm Christian, so you know. Pretty sure, and I'm Catholic specifically, so Catholics can't be white supremacists.
Oh, okay.
Why is that?
Because it's a sin. You know, we all believe that we're equal before God. All people have equality in terms.
Because you know most religious people follow their scripture very closely. All of them. That's the truth.
In terms of that we were created by God, and so we all have dignity and things like that. But I mean, we can like some people are smarter than others. Like you know. If you put 10 people in a group, some people will be taller and some will be shorter. Some people will be smart, some people will be ugly and attractive. And so human equality is a myth. That's the point. There's no equality between individuals and there's no equality between groups. But we are all equal in the sense.
I mean, the idea of equality is equal opportunity for people to be able to succeed. Okay. Great. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
That we were created by God. So I'm not a white supremacist, but I think equality is just a myth in the real world, in fact.
We got to stop using the word red pill because people on Twitter and like the bots get really confused when you say red pill and they think it's just like a pickup scam. So you can keep saying it, but I'm saying like overall for the message of this, for the good versus evil thing that's going on, red pill limits it and people think that it's just about picking up women and think about like picking up bitches for the most part. But like, I keep saying this in the stream, like the idea of the red pill in the Matrix was that it's like waking you up to the truth. So when I talk about women and shit like that, it's bigger than just like red pill is not just about picking up girls. It's about the brainwashing that's going on. It's about how most people are asleep.
Yeah, well, the red pill in the Matrix was about the fact that we were in a created world. You know, in the Matrix, the red pill, they took it and they woke up and they realized that they like what they thought was the world was not really the world, that there was a fake reality being created around them. And what we say red pill, that is what we're all living through right now because everything that we see is filtered through the media. Everything that we see is on TikTok, it's on the news media, it's on Twitter, and all of that is controlled by algorithms, and all of that is controlled by the companies that make those things or the advertisers that pay for it. And so everything that we see is in the same way, like a created reality. So much of our assumptions and beliefs are based on things that we saw on TV and movies. You don't have to think very far to think like, most of your assumptions, if you think really deeply about them, came from something you saw on television or in a movie or on TikTok.
Yeah, I mean that's just how thoughts and expressions are kind of moved around. It's idea exchange, it's thought exchange for sure. Like yeah, you could make the argument that media is the media is manipulating people. They sensationalize the news and whatnot. But I'm not that's you could argue that's how your entire ideology comes to play. Like and like your hateful ideology where black people are inferior. So.
Oh, this works this way because of a character in a show, because I saw this in a movie. And those things were made by other people. And so it's almost like when you look into your phone or TV.
Well, like, so media in general, fundamentally, is supposed to be like a story that could express like something, like a real life lesson. That's how stories have always gone. You could trace that back to like cave stories. All these are life lessons to teach you to not do or to not do certain things, right? Like the story of Dracula was supposed to be about women not like being promiscuous. Like Dracula is like I don't remember, like a metaphor for like sex, like sexually, provocative, like sexually provocative men or something, and teaching women to be pure, they're going to be like changed. So
you're looking into a created world. And so when you say red pilled, it's like you realize that there's this giant conspiracy to create a fake reality around you to change your fundamental assumptions and your behaviors. And being red pilled means realizing that all of the media is a big lie.
Everything we ingest.
Yeah.
Alex Jones just had to pay $4 million to the parents of people of the Sandy Hook victims today.
Good. Kids were shot and murdered in Sandy Hook, and he said it was all fake. And they got relentlessly harassed. Could you imagine your kid getting killed and then you getting harassed? People saying that you're like an actor and a political pawn. Good. Imagine that happened to you. You'd feel like you were being gaslit in real time. It's been 10 years and they finally got some form of justice. What are you saying? What
do you think about Alex Jones, and do you think that he's right about most of the conspiracies he talks about?
I love Alex Jones. He's a friend of mine.
I'm a big fan. Oh, yeah. He's a friend of yours too?
Yeah.
I've always been a big fan of him.
Yeah, me too. He's a hero of mine. I used to watch him in high school. He's kind of got me into this in a big way. And the guy's a legend. He's right about everything. You know, whenever he goes on Joe Rogan.
Was he right about the Sandy Hook thing? I think he was wrong about that. I mean, I was.
Thank God.
I'm from Connecticut. I remember what happened. Like, I don't think that shit was made up.
I never looked too deeply into that one, but there's a really good documentary about it on BitChute. I forget the name of it, but
I never looked into it, but there's a good documentary. Okay, so you did look into it.
I saw a really good documentary. Yeah, that's how all these stories start about this, and there's definitely some facts in there that I think are questionable. I don't know that it was necessarily all fake, but there was something fishy going on there. So I think if it wasn't
Alex Jones is on Cozy, your chat saying Alex Jones is on Cozy TV too.
Yeah, he is on Cozy. He's live every day.
Okay, so even though with my low IQ genetics, I could still stream on Cozy.
Wasn't SNEAKO Asian? So didn't he say that Asian people, or I guess he said Chinese people, have the highest IQs?
Hey, I never said you were low IQ. It's about group averages. If you're in a class of people and the average grade is like a C, you could still get an A. You still be a good student. But just the overall.
The average is lower.
Yeah,
okay.
So your dumbass self, you could be on Cozy too. No, I'm kidding.
Jesus Christ, bro. I'm gonna look into that. Because I'm 25% Haitian, so I was like, what? What Trump called Haiti a shithole too, and a lot of people got mad about Trump for that. But it's ironic because like you definitely know everything that the Clinton Foundation and what Hillary Clinton's been doing in Haiti.
Yeah, true. Yeah, they are like kidnapping people there. It's sick.
And using their bodies. It gets really
What? Okay.
deep.
Okay.
What do you say? Like, I'm about to go. It's 2:14 and I'm tired.
Okay.
I stream in seasons. Can you red pill my chat real quick? Because I think we agree on most things, and I've never even heard about you before this stream, and it's cool to see that like what's happening and what's going on. I feel like the internet's about to completely change.
No, probably not. Realistically speaking, the internet is in its more conservative phase now. This is how life works. This is something that I know that you think that life's going to have like this huge big change and everything, and you're going to have this massive impact. This is what happens, right? We go back and forth between left and right all the time as a society. It's usually like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Something will happen and we'll go to more progressive because it's necessary in our society. Then people will take it a little too far, and so that there'll be a conservative rebound, which is what we're in right now. Then people will take it a little too far, like SNEAKO is doing right now with this like insane anti-Semitic nonsense, and then people will rebound back to more progressive. This is just how the world works. There's not going to be some like a massive like insane thing. What will happen is we're going to face more and more class issues as our wealth is being fucking funneled to the top. Absolutely. But like the change isn't going to be like nobody's going to wake up to the Matrix bullshit. I think that's you hoping hoping. And what's going to happen is like some things that you're predicting, which everybody else are, like about how like rich people are fucking hurting poor people with wealth, like with like a wealth disparity. You're gonna be like, see, I told you, but it's like everybody told you. But when it comes to all the fucking other insane shit, like you're wrong.
I totally agree. I think that we're on the cusp of something really big here. You know, Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter, Joe Rogan blowing up, like Kanye becoming Christian. There's a shift in the consciousness, and you know, you're not going to see it talked about on Fox News or NBC when it's talking about like Pelosi and Biden and all this, but everybody realizes that a shift is happening in the culture. Attitudes are changing. I feel like people are becoming more awakened to the truth. And this is all because of the internet. If you look up a guy named Marshall McLuhan, he wrote a lot about the media. And he would talk about how media can be hot or cold and kind of how it changes the velocity of society. The internet is a...
Yeah, Kanye's always been Christian. He might just be leaning more into it now that he's getting older.
Flaming hot medium that is going to change how information is distributed. It completely changes how we interact with each other. And it's something that, especially with the introduction of cryptography and cryptocurrency, as well as Web3 and how it's affecting politics, it's going to fundamentally change how society works. So we entered into a certain kind of a period, I would say in the late 80s, early 90s, and that is rapidly ending in the late 2010s and in the early 2020s. So we're fundamentally, probably by 2024, 2025, things are really going to flip upside down in a big way. And
what's your prediction for the monkey?
For what? Monkeypox?
It's probably not going to be like they'll probably say you should get a vaccine and be safe and whatnot, but they're not going to do like this whole shutdown. So
yeah.
Well, it's being spread. It's not as transmissible as COVID, but I think they could use it. They just declared a state of emergency for it in New York.
In LA and New York, yeah. In LA and New York City, they're saying this is the epicenter. Do you think that
that makes sense because people are in very close proximity to each other in areas like that. So in urban areas. So yeah, of course, you're going to see the biggest outbreaks in very densely populated areas.
Going to be COVID part 2?
I don't know that it's going to be like COVID, but I think that things like this are just going to become more common. I don't know that it's going to be as big as COVID, but...
Yeah, I mean, Bill Gates he's like, if we go down, it's going to be some kind of like viral disease, et cetera, et cetera. It's probably right. So like, yeah, there might be more common occurrences of like more aggressive, like different viruses and diseases and et cetera, et cetera. But historically, we've always had problems like this that we've had to be able to deal with. You know, there was the Black Plague. You guys remember that? Why didn't they call it the White Plague? Am I right, guys? Racist.
What they did with COVID was kind of introduce people to the idea, of lockdown, vax mandates, passports, all that kind of stuff. Society's changed after COVID. In GTA, yeah, exactly. In
my favorite video game.
Yes, right.
So, it was good talking to you. I hope to you can send me the Cozy TV invite. I think they're inevitably going to ban me. I hope they don't ban me just for having you on here in this stream right now. But that was really good. GTA is my favorite video.
On Twitch? Yeah, is he on Twitch? Because they would probably ban you for that. But if you're on YouTube, you'll be fine. I don't think he uses Twitch, though. So, like, I know Destiny has conversations on Twitch, on YouTube with I think he did, with Nick Fuentes.
Video game, and I really enjoyed this hypothetical conversation.
Yeah, me too. It was great to have this metaverse conversation with you, and I'll send you those details. We'll get you on Cozy, and good luck on YouTube. I hope you can keep it, though.
We'll see how long it lasts. Yes. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks. See you later.
Peace out,
Bye-bye.
Boy Scouts.
All right. Well.
What a mess.
What do you think about that?
What a mess.
What do you think about that?
I wonder what SNEAKO's audience was saying.
That was crazy. So what do we think about all that? That was totally unexpected. That was my last show. I was about to go out of town tomorrow. And out of a clear blue sky, we got...
All right.
I got an interview on SNEAKO. That's gonna... where to even begin on that one? That was pretty good. What do you guys think? Did I do a good job?
Oh, my God. Yeah, well... Definitely now have access to SNEAKO's fans that are going to be put... Dude, bro, this is literally like the alt-right pipeline, isn't it? I mean, I think that's so cringe to talk about, but holy fuck, SNEAKO is pushing people to fucking anti-Semitism. This is insane. Holy fuck, this is insane. It really is. Wow. That's fucking nuts. Well, interesting conversation. I hope that this wakes Nico up to some of the fucking insane shit that he believes, but it probably won't. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.